Hey everyone, hope you're having a great day. So today I'm going to talk about reading labels. I think it's an important, I would say, skill to have, and it doesn't take much, but just to have a good idea what to look at when you're going to the store and you're buying certain things, because these marketers and food companies can really disguise what's in the foods and just put it in small letters on the labels and thinking no one is going to read them. So if you're good at reading labels, it's a good skill to have. So in a perfect world, obviously, it would be great not to have labels at all, right? And just buy fresh fruits and veggies, organic wild fish, grass-fed meats. No labels would be great. And in a perfect world, that's probably not going to happen. For the most part, I go that route. I would say there's very few things that I buy that have labels on them. But either way, it's a good skill to have. So let me go through some tips just to give you a hand when you're at the store and what to look at. So first thing is, just so you know, when they list the ingredients, it goes from the highest quantity to the lowest quantity in that order. So if the first ingredient, you'll see this with like these bars, I know there's thousands of bars, protein bars or whatever. I don't really eat those that often, but if you do, you want to look at the label, because a lot of times the first label could be, it could be brown rice syrup, it could be, that's a common one. It could be sugar. So if that first ingredient is just not good, okay, typically brown rice syrup or corn syrup or whatever, just move on, okay? And it goes from highest to lowest. So just keep that in mind. So if it's all the way at the end of the ingredients and it's not something that bad, I wouldn't worry too much about it. Number two, look for, obviously, the less ingredients, I would say, for the most part, the better. You can take a bar and look, and if there's, let's say, 15 to 20 ingredients, I would just put it back. Don't even worry about reading it. I would say look for 6 ingredients or less. It would be a good sort of rule of thumb to go by. If you can't pronounce the ingredients, then definitely put it back. One I pulled out was called BHT, or butylated hydroxysol, and it's used as a preservative in cereals, but it's also known as a carcinogen. So if you can't pronounce it, put it back on the shelf. Okay, beware of sugar and its many different names. This is easy for marketers to disguise ways to hide sugar that are added sugars into your whatever you're buying, okay? And so let me just name, I wrote down a few. First of all, they could say malt syrup, they could say corn syrup, brown rice syrup, barley malt, cane juice, fruit juice concentrate. Okay, these are all ways that they can disguise, and these are really just forms of sugar. So just be aware of that. Next, also, a lot of marketers will say, oh, it's fat-free. Well, usually if it's fat-free, it's probably not good for you. Okay, if it's fat-free, it probably has high in sugar. So I would just keep an eye on that. And usually if it's fat-free and it's either, if it's not high in sugar, then they either stuffed it with a bunch of artificial ingredients, artificial sweeteners, which I'm going to talk about soon. But for the most part, fats are good, okay? You want healthy fats. This could be stuff that you get from grass-fed butter, olive oil, MCT oil, even avocado oil or coconut oil. Good things to cook with as well. Okay, here's a big one, because a lot of marketers are jumping on this. Just because it says organic, just because it says gluten-free, does not mean it's healthy. I mean, for example, gluten-free, yes, it could be good for some people that are allergic to gluten and have reactions, but for individuals that don't, it's packed with potato starch, rice flour, corn starch, tapioca starch, okay? And these are things that can really cause an influx in your blood sugar and insulin levels, okay? Like rice flour, big spike in blood sugar levels. So be aware of, just because it says gluten-free and just because it says organic doesn't mean it's necessarily healthy for you. Also, as I mentioned before, watch for artificial sweeteners. Okay, I'm going to name a few to avoid, and then ones that you perhaps could have in your foods. One, aspartame, okay? Just Google aspartame. I don't need to explain everything, but not good for you. Sucralose, something called acesulfame K, and saccharin. Okay, these are all things that you want to avoid. So watch out for artificial sweeteners, especially aspartame. I would say your best choice if they're going to sweeten it, you'll see this with a lot of bars, is like a raw honey. This is not a bad sweetener, okay? A little honey in moderation isn't so bad. You could go stevia, you could go coconut sugar, okay? So look for sweeteners that aren't necessarily artificial because those are made in the lab, right? And we don't want those. So limit processed foods, limit canned foods as much as you can. A lot of them have a high sodium. Add salts, add your own salts to food. Redmond's real salt is a great salt that I use and add to foods. And then lastly, with reading labels, watch out for vegetable oils. And I've talked about this before. I think a friend of mine got some like trail mix, and there's vegetable oils in trail mix. You wouldn't think, you'd think it would just be nuts. But some vegetable oils to avoid: canola, soybean, corn, safflower, rapeseed, peanut oil, safflower oil. So watch out for vegetable oils. They could definitely lead to inflammation down the road. So those are the tips. I'll go through them real quick for you. You want small ingredient lists. Watch out for artificial sweeteners. Beware of sugar and its many different names. Just because it says fat-free doesn't mean it's healthy. Just because it says organic and gluten-free doesn't mean it's healthy. And avoid those vegetable oils. So take those tips when you go to the store. Obviously, in a perfect world, we wouldn't have any labels, but I know everyone wants to get things, some things that are in packaging. So avoid as much as you can and try to read labels, and hopefully this helps. Thanks everyone for watching. If you have any questions or you want me to do a video on something else, feel free to write in the comments and share this whoever think would love it. So hope you have a great day, and I will talk to you down the road.